Hey y'all, this is Hollywood Sucks here. Oh God, I don't know what to tell you about this stupid movie. Yeah, I just got finished watching Hobbs and Shaw yesterday, and this was a movie that I really wanted to see last summer, and I'm really glad I didn't pay my money to go see this movie. Um, this is about as dumb as an action movie as you can get. I mean, my whole premise, my whole anticipation of this movie is that you got The Rock, you got Jason Statham, you're gonna get a badass action movie, and this is from the Fast and the Furious people because this is supposed to be a spinoff. But this movie felt so much like a Disney Marvel movie. There was no stakes, no consequences. All the fight scenes felt like they all felt PG, even though Idris Elba was some sort of superhuman. And it's like I wasn't invested in this. There was probably only one decent action scene in this movie is when they first run into Shaw, and I mean not Shaw. Idris Elba's character. I don't even remember his name. I just know he was like the bad guy. And there's a scene where like the car goes under the truck, and that was pretty cool. And yeah, and The Rock was in the car. Yeah, it was Jason Statham when I think he had his like Lamborghini or Ferrari, and he was going under the trucks. Other than that, there was no other action scene that I thought was really believable. Everything else was just so outrageous. Like the part where they jump out the building before the truck chase scene. This is early on in the movie. Yeah, I'm just gonna rant about this movie because this movie is just stupid beyond belief. Um, the plot of the movie. Okay, all right. Let's just start with the. You know what? I'm gonna get into the performances and all that stuff and all that stuff. And quality and all that bull crap later. But let's just talk about the plot of the movie. Okay. Jason Statham has a sister. He had a brother and now he has a sister. So the sister, she works for MI6. And she's supposed to be stealing, they're supposed to be, her and her team is supposed to be capturing some virus that can melt your insides or whatever, some nonsense. And then Idris Elba shows up and he tries to steal it. But instead of that happening, she injects it in herself. She basically does what the chicken Mission Impossible 2 does. She puts the virus in her. So the whole movie, he's basically trying to chase her like the Terminator. And then, Jason Statham and The Rock, Hobbs and Shaw, they're trying to I guess they try to protect her, but she's kind of like, oh, I don't need protecting and all this other crap. So she's pulling that wool crap, even though the guy is always basically trying to capture her. And then, and that's basically the plot of the movie. That's basically literally the plot of the movie. There's no story to this movie. It's just she injects herself with the virus. She gets pursued. And The Rock and I think Deadpool, he recruits The Rock and some other guy. I think the guy Peter from Deadpool 2 recruits Jason Statham, and then they meet each other in London, and it's like all this all these corny ass jokes. That's why I want to get into the performances. The performances in this movie are really terrible. I mean, The Rock, he's so corny in this movie. I remember the first time I thought he was a badass in the movies when I saw him in Fast Five. And all the other Fast and the Furious movies since then, he's been pretty consistent. But in this movie, he's just so corny. Every 2 minutes, he's telling jokes. Him and Jason Statham are going back and forth. It's like, no. In the original, if you look at Fast Six, is it Fast Six? No, it's Fast Seven. If you look at when they first met each other, there was total tension, total suspense. These guys were ready to kill each other. But now it's more like they're like a married couple. Oh, it's your face. Oh, it's your voice. No, no, no. Okay? That's bullshit. That's Marvel bullshit. Okay? Let's just make jokes every 2 minutes and then have no plot and then have a fight scene. And then Idris Elba, he's so super powered. And it makes sense that they would do this because when you have a movie like this starring The Rock, you can't just have some little guy trying to fight him. You got to have somebody that's, pretty much like a superhero. So I kind of got that, but even that got tired. And then there was the whole scene in where he was with his family, the Samoans, and that scene was stupid. And I just tuned out. And then you get towards the end where they had the fight scene. That was corny. It's just everything about this movie was boring. That's another thing. Whenever there wasn't action going on in this movie, it was freaking boring. The movie was freaking boring. I literally fell asleep twice and I had to rewind the film back just to see what the hell was going on. I fell asleep during this thing, and I'm like, this thing is so boring and so stupid. I actually thought this movie was going to be good, but everything about it was just the tone was off. The tone of the movie was just really sort of like PG. It didn't feel like it. Fast and the Furious movies are more entertaining than this, and Fast and the Furious movies are not known for their sophistication or deep plot, or even a deep story. It's pretty much, like a Mission Impossible movie. But it's like one thing about the Fast and Furious movies is that I never get bored watching them. A lot of people talk bad about Vin Diesel. Oh, he's the reason. Rock was the reason. Well, yeah, Rock was the reason why the movies were getting decent at the end. Even in Fast 8, he pretty much was one of the reasons why I watched it. But he's boring in this movie. The Rock, both Jason Statham and The Rock are boring in this movie. And the fight scenes, that's what I was really looking forward to with Jason Statham. I thought he was going to be some decent fight scenes. All the fight scenes are corny. He's just like boop, boop, boop. There's no real danger, no real threat to him. Like when you watch Jason Statham and other like in Transporter movies and other movies he's done, you get a decent fight scene. You didn't get any decent fight scene in this movie. All the fight and the editing was all quick and chopped up and everything. It wasn't like a real good fight scene at all. And even another thing that was bad I didn't like, the opening scenes where you first see The Rock, because there's like a split screen where you see The Rock and Jason Statham wake up at the same time. This is like after the scene where the sister injects herself with the virus, and then I think some character says, oh yeah, Idris Elba says, well, who's gonna stop me? And then you see a split screen, both of them waking up in the morning, and they're doing their daily routine, and then you see them go beat up some guys and all that. And even those fight scenes were corny. The Rock scene where he goes into that tattoo parlor, that was corny. The scene where Jason Statham fights people and that where he gets that, I guess it's like a terrorist or bad guy, he's beating them up with a champagne bottle, is so corny and stupid. It's not suspenseful. It's not exciting. It's definitely not badass. And, I just don't get it. Some of the stunts in the movie were pretty good. The production value of the movie was okay. It was well made. It was a well-made movie because it was a big budget movie. Some of the stunts were okay, but there was nothing impressive about it. Entertainment-wise, I was bored. I just expected more out of this movie. I didn't really have high expectations for this movie, but I definitely expected more. I definitely expected a lot more. I thought this movie would be more in the vein of maybe John Wick as far as like action. I knew it wasn't going to be rated R, but I thought the movie would take itself more seriously. Because in The Rock, that's what didn't make any sense. It was like, who was this Hobbs character? This wasn't the same guy that was in the Fast and Furious. In those movies, he's pretty serious and he's badass every time he's on screen. The same thing with Jason Statham. His character is serious. He's always on the move. Like in Part 7, you remember that fight scene in Fast 7 where he fought Vin Diesel in that parking garage? Like, that was a good scene because he really wanted to kill Vin Diesel. This movie, there's no threat. Deadpool kind of just recruits these guys. And that was another thing. Ryan Reynolds, just tone it down on Deadpool. If you're going to be the Nick Fury of this supposedly series, I guess it's going to be a franchise. I don't know if they're going to make a sequel to this or not. You got to tone it down, Ryan. Tone it down. I mean, you were just going overboard with the buffoonery and the goofiness. And just like a Marvel movie, this movie has a post-credit scene where you see Ryan Reynolds and he's trying to recruit The Rock again. And it was like, no, this is bullshit. Okay? I hope Fast 9 isn't like this. I hope this isn't a sign of things to come. I mean, I'm really not that interested in seeing a Fast 9, but I hope that if they do make this movie, it's not corny like this. Okay? Like I said, I was looking forward to this movie because of the premise, because I thought you get two badass action stars in a movie is going to be good. It's this movie was, I think they were inspired by Tango and Cash, the Sylvester Stallone and Kurt Russell movie, the classic, 80s classic. I think they were sort of inspired by that movie to make this movie, because you get two big action stars, put them together, they don't like each other, but they're forced to work to do a mission, or they're putting some side, like in Tango and Cash, they were framed and went to prison, all that kind of. And yeah, that's another thing they borrowed from Tango and Cash, because just like Tango and Cash, Idris Elba's character or his organization frames them for murder, and then they're on the run along with the sister. So it's just like in Tango and Cash, they get framed, they go to jail, they're on the run, they're fugitives, but they gotta clear their names and kick a whole lot of ass in the meantime, in between. Yeah, that's what I felt like this movie was. This was like a woke, I wouldn't say woke because the movie's not really woke, but it's like a millennial version of Tango and Cash. Except there's one problem. Tango and Cash is better. Okay, so that's just how I feel about this movie. I guess I had to give it thumbs down. I just fell asleep twice watching this movie. I'm like, this movie made me want to watch Tango and Cash all over again. A much better movie. The reason why that movie is better is because there's humor in it, but it's not every 2 minutes, and there's actually a story going on, and I feel, and at least in that movie, you got a sense that they were in danger. There's no sense of danger when you deal with The Rock, and there's nothing they do in this movie to put this guy in danger. Literally, like he's just like superhuman. So how am I supposed to take this seriously? So anyway, that's my feeling on this movie. I wouldn't call it a disappointment because I didn't have that many expectations, but it was just so irritating. It was just boring. It was like, oh my God. I just hope that either if they do another one, hopefully it's not boring like this one, and I hope that Fast 9 isn't boring like this. If Fast 9 is boring like this, then I'm not gonna watch it. All right, yeah, that's my review. Hollywood sucks out.